Put your
Okay.
coat on, you going in here? Oh, okay.
Okay, we're with Dr. Dean Speicher. Dr. Dean, one of the things that, as we worked on this project, and I heard this from Chris, I've heard this from your young protege, who's now at the top, but originally I heard it from you a long, long time ago, and it's called the Penn Way. So I want you to go back to the beginning when you developed that culture, that mindset, the verbiage, and talk about starting the Penn Way, because it started with your administration and caught on like a wildfire. So take me back to the beginning.
Well, when I arrived at Penn High School, based on the data that I analyzed from both the academic side and the athletic side and some of those, some programs had what I would call a culture of mediocrity. And so what we wanted to do was to build those programs. The fine arts programs were very solid. Lamar Holloway in terms of the choirs and the work that was being done with the band, and Keith Rudolph was very solid. But a number of our programs fit that culture of mediocrity label. So basically, what I told the folks is that I don't even know if I labeled it as the Penn Way, but I said we're going to have high expectations. We're going to have a growth mindset. In other words, we're going to be continuously improving. I said that we're going to select the best people to lead our programs. We're going to support those people in terms of their development, and we're going to make sure that any student that we put into any kind of academic situation or into any kind of competition will not be embarrassed. So I think the Penn Way kind of grew out of high expectations. I think if there is a label, that would be high expectations. And we expect you to develop a program. We expect you to develop the participants in that program. And we expect the results to reflect all of the work of the participants and the teachers and the coaches related to that.
Was it difficult to get the staff, and from a corporation-wide, to get it, because Chris says it always starts from the top and goes all the way down. He feels that you set the tone by your language and behavior and the way you've talked about it. If you look at John Wooden's Pyramid of Success, there's a lot of it that's at the base. It's base-oriented and works its way up. This is kind of a different type of pyramid, I mean, theoretically, and it works its way on down, and if you have a strong base, it's like this. So we'll just talk about, was it difficult to change the culture and the mindset of the staff and the coaches?
No, because I think leadership matters. And I'm not a lot of things, but I am a strong leader. And I always have been. That's been one of my God-given assets. So I think leadership matters. And I think setting expectations, I think supporting people to meet those expectations, and then rewarding people when they meet those expectations, that's the cycle of success. So, you know, I didn't find it difficult at all to set high standards and high expectations. The people that I worked with knew who I was. They knew my heart. I think they saw me as being fair. But I also was straightforward in terms of making sure that we were meeting those high expectations and meeting with people, talking with people. And, you know, as Chris said, he figured it out early on that, you know, that was his responsibility. So I wasn't interested in a coach who was going to come in and win at all costs. That was not where we were at all. And that was not what I would tolerate. I was interested in somebody coming in who had integrity, who was going to treat students as I would want my children treated, but also who would have high expectations, who would be demanding. There's nothing wrong with pushing students. There's nothing wrong with pushing your staff. And, you know, it's not just about wins and losses. It's about how you run your program. It's about how you treat people.
Historically speaking, looking back on it now, and look at the way it's grown over the years, and obviously now you're trying to do the same type of things at Mishawaka High School. Give us an idea as you look back on it, and you have to look at it very fondly as when you look at the success. I mean, because listen, I look at it, I look at our company, 26 years old now. I look at this little idea, this concept, this little baby has grown up into be a big man, literally. So let's talk about looking at it now in historical retrospect.
Well, in 1972, August of 1972, Jim Rogg was then the athletic director, as I recall. And so Jim asked me to come in and talk to the coaches before school started, and it was all the coaches. And I basically told them that based on the data, we're pretty much accepting a culture of mediocrity. I said, if you love getting your rear ends handed to you by Mishawaka in 9 out of 10 sports, and if you're willing to live with that, then you don't belong here. In other words, you know, we've got to change our expectations. We have to change the way that we do business, and you need to let us know what kind of support you need to be able to make those kinds of changes. Now, what's ironic is that about a year ago, I had the same discussion with the Mishawaka coaches about Penn continuing to hand them in those sports, and that they had to change their behavior, and they had it. And obviously, we've changed leadership in the athletic department. So a lot of things are moving pieces are going on, but I truly believe that you can't be bashful about what your expectations are. And you know, I'm extremely proud of the success that Penn High School has. Even though I'm working in Mishawaka now, I revel in every success that Penn High School has. And, you know, I feel like it's a part of me. It's a part of my past, a part of my experience. And, you know, none of us could have guessed that Granger was going to develop the way it did, and a lot of different things that happened that worked in the favor of the school system. But I can also tell you that if we hadn't worked hard to create a top-flight school organization, Granger wouldn't have developed the way it did. So there's a cause and effect relationship. You know, if you have excellence, you demand excellence, the people will come and be part of your program.
All right, now let's look back on Chris Gesemann's career, who you helped nurture and start. Multi-state champion, Hall of Fame coach, been honored, multiple Coach of the Year, multiple conference championships. It would take a whole hour to go through the resume. But if you look at the guy who you helped lead, mentor, and put on the path, and the fact that you made it attractive enough for him to stay here, to raise his family here. And I think one of the things I love about Chris is, and that him and Jane really became totally involved in the community. They went to events that were student related, whether it be the band concerts or to the plays. They ate it, drank it, and slept it. So you created that. So I want you to think back on the Gesemann family. Jane needs to be involved in this conversation as well too. So talk about what the Gesemanns 35 or 40 years later.
Well, when they came here, we didn't have a teaching position for Jane available, and she ended up going to St. Joe, taught there like 5 years or something, and when we had a position that was a good fit for her, she was hired to come to Penn High School. One of Chris's assets is that he's a very bright guy. And he has interests beyond football. He made a lot of friends at Penn High School in terms of the other staff and also with students by coming to choral concerts, coming to band concerts, coming to drama performances, and being involved in many other kinds of ways in the school. So, his influence obviously rubbed off on other teachers and other coaches. So he not only had an influence on his leadership with the football program, but he had an influence in terms of creating the kind of school culture at Penn High School that we wanted, where people, staff members support each other, students are supported, whether they're an athlete or a musician or art, whatever it may be. And so he modeled that kind of behavior and became a leader among his peers in terms of, again, achieving excellence, working toward excellence. And
what's your favorite, funniest Chris Gesemann story that you'd like to share?
I don't really think I have a funniest Chris Gesemann story because I never really was that close to the total football staff.
Okay.
I think, and I kept my distance on purpose.
Right, I understand that.
But the one thing that I would say about Chris, amongst all other things, is he has a great work ethic. He has the ability to teach and motivate his staff. Much of the success of Penn High School football is the longevity of that staff that has worked together through Chris and now with Corey, and former players coming back who know the program, know the expectations, and they're part of it. If there was, I don't consider this funny necessarily, but one of the things that I was a big believer in, and my school board, at least 2 or 3 of them didn't always agree with me, and that was that, I believed in rewards. I've always been if people perform, you reward them. And so I don't remember when it was and what year or anything like that, But I decided to invite Chris to go to the superintendent's conference along with 5 or 6 other people. And so one of the first things we did is went to the conference all day, did that, but we always ended up having a dinner at night where an architect or somebody would invite us out because they were interested, they either had our business or they were interested in future business. So I remember Chris going to one of those first dinners and seeing the spread and what was going on. And he said, you know, this is a lot different than the football banquets I go to. So, and there were some real benefits in doing that because one of the components of the program was they had a gazillion exhibitors there from all kinds of equipment and all kinds of programs and so on. So this was prior to Penn High School being rebuilt and renovated. And so he had an opportunity to see a lot of those programs.
I'm good.
Good. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Dean, how you doing?
Good.
Man, it's cold out there.
Hey, it's winter. You're not a sissy.
Man, I don't know. I don't mind the cold as much as I hate the gray.
We've had a lot of sun this fall.
This fall we have.
Yeah.
This fall. You're absolutely right. Hey, bud. Good work, bud. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
You want to hop in or you want to grab something to eat or you want to hurry?
No, I can hop in. Yeah, I got a meeting this afternoon, if you don't mind.
Nope. Hop in there.
They got a trash. My mom.
Keys and JP are around here somewhere.
Well, your wrestlers looked good last on Wednesday, Dean.
That's what I heard.
You got to tell you what, you guys got a really good-looking younger group.
They're going to be.
You're gonna be good. You got 3 years of what Brad Harper says. He says, "Hey man, you got 3 years of some really tough wrestling from Mishawaka." So that's good. Is it tough Mishawaka? Is it tough in Penn?
That's right.
That's how I like it. Yeah.
All right, Aaron, hop on there, buddy.
All right, man.
Woo! I'm gonna move that. Get the chair closest over there.
This one right here.
You taking off, Doc?
I'm going to get my sandwich, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Coming over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Chief, how you?
Good, man. You?
Good.
Oh man.
You got to be interviewed again,
Hello.
please?
Hello.
Where are we supposed to be,
Yes.
Dave?
Hey, come back here.
Hey, Braxton, how you doing?
Back this way, yeah.
No worries at all, buddy, because